resources. So over a period of time, we can import these resources to country. So economic, if we see the economic angle of ASEAN, that is the energy as well as the natural and gas deposits. Apart from energy and strategic interest, another thing is economic. We again focusing on exporting our products to different markets. We already have a slowdown in US and West. So the focus is the market differentiation. How we can have more and more new markets to export our goods. With Make in India, it has become more important to look for new and new markets. So this Southeast, if we have good relation with the ASEAN, this will provide a new market over a period of time. Another important point is India is global software superpower. And if we look at the economy of ASEAN countries, they are expert in hardware manufacturing. So this provides a complementarity. If they are providing hardware and we are providing software, we can tie up and we provide the best global services to different parts of the world. So from this point of view, it becomes also important their economic engagement. And as I'm again focusing on the northeast part of India, if we see the northeast part, if we see this northeast part, that has a connection with the Myanmar, and the Myanmar has connection with Thailand. So if we have good relation with the Asian countries, we can have infrastructural development, we can have economic development of this region. And once we have economic development of northeast India, now we are listening day-to-day level in the news that there are some issues, there are some terrorism kind of thing which is going on in the northeast part. But with the economic development, with the infrastructural development, we hope that we can reduce these kind of things and we can have equitable part development of the northeast India and the complete India. So how these ASEAN countries will help for the infrastructure and economic development of the northeast regions. So one we are thinking is for trilateral highway. Trilateral highway is a road network from Thailand, Myanmar to India. So once we have this road, we can have industries in that region and we can export that products to different ASEAN countries. So this is again an approach for the development of these regions. Apart from northeast India, if we see the eastern part of India, these part of India can have industries and they can ship their goods to the Asian countries. So this Asian is also very important for the regional development of India. So again, just a quick summary, why ASEAN important is strategic vision, want to counter China. Second thing is for their energy products. Third thing is to have economic engagement for the market also, and for have complementarity with the software products. And third is regional development of the Indian states. And the fourth thing is most of these are the Buddhist countries, and we are the countries where Buddhism born actually. So to have cultural linkages, it's again if we have a cultural and these kind of linkages, that will act as a soft power. To have cultural linkages will also help in improving our political links, will also help in improving our economic engagement with these countries.
Sir,
yeah.
why will China allow oil exploration in the South China Sea? It is their sea.
No, it is not their sea.
In the sense, there was an agreement between India and China. For the first 10 to 15 years, India can use the sea and explore, but after that, contract is got over to China has.
No, it's not like that. If you have a look at the South China Sea, there are some disputed islands, and whenever every country has their influence in a given region in that South China Sea, that is EEZ, economic zone of that region, and that economic zone is calculated from the land. So when you have disputed islands, it becomes very difficult to calculate that EEZ in an actual way. So when China is moving into that region, they are actually trespassing the regions of other countries. If India has a tie-up with Vietnam, they are doing all exploration in their region. China is creating problem in that region. They are saying it's our region basically. So in that way, it's not their ocean, it's an ocean of those littoral countries, and they have equal rights in that region. That's the answer. Apart from the things why ASEAN is important for India, the economic angle if we see is the FTA in goods and services. That is the free trade agreement which have been signed in 2009 in terms of for the goods and which got effective in 2012. So how this FTA help India and ASEAN, that is more important. On the face it feels that signing FTA is good for both the countries or both the groups, you can say ASEAN and India. But if actually we see that trade has increased considerably from 30 to 75 billion in 2012, and that was done primarily in field of products like electronics, fertilizers, chemicals. But if we have a closer look, we will find it has more or less helped ASEAN rather than India, because they are manufacturing hubs, they have low cost comparatively and more expertise, and they have exported more goods to India. So there is a trade deficit with India. So India is importing more and exporting less. So the trade deficit with India and ASEAN widened. So what is the alternative? So what India can do so that their economic engagement with ASEAN will help India also? The answer is FTA in services. How FTA in services will help? Because India is expert in software, they have their greater advantage in education, in health, in BPO, in knowledge processing, outsourcing industries. So once we have this FTA in services, we have free movement of professionals. They cannot have some duties or some taxes for the software companies or for the services companies which will be having their base in the ASEAN nations. So that is the main purpose of having FTA in services. With this FTA in services, we are expecting that total economic engagement of goods and services may reach to 200 billion from 75 billion within this 10 years. That is by 2022. So this is a timeline how this FTA in services has evolved. So in 2012, the talks were concluded in FTA in services. After that, in 2013 December, India has given approval, and by 2014, except Philippines, almost all the countries have signed FTA in services and investment with India. Philippines, as I again said, they feel that they are also service provider in BPO industry, so they feel that if they will sign this agreement, that will be threat to their own industry. That is the reason for not signing this agreement by Philippines. Any question on ASEAN? Another thing which was in the news for the past 1.5 years is the Crimea issue. That is the issue between Russia and Ukraine. If we see on a larger scale, this issue is an angle to the new Cold War. Earlier we have a Cold War which was kind of over in 1990 with the disintegration of USSR. But we have seen over a period of time, both the Russia and US, they are getting more and more aggressive. And this Ukraine or the Crimea issue, this has become kind of a flashpoint between their relations. And that has given a new word, new terms by the experts, that is a new Cold War. Now we see how this Crimea issue, that is affecting the world, that is affecting the India, and that has new dimensions for the overall international affairs. So before 1991, both Crimea and Ukraine, they were part of USSR. But after the disintegration of USSR, Ukraine basically held their referendum and they opted for their own independent country. And over a period of time, this Crimea has also become the part of Ukraine. In 1991, after the disintegration of Russia, US has given assurance that their NATO forces will not move towards the eastern region, and that region is basically the influence of Russian region, like sphere of influence, that is the word used, sphere of influence of Russia. So this informal guarantee was given that they will not move towards that region, but Russia feels over a period of time, they are getting more and more engaged in the ex-Soviet regions, like Georgia, like Ukraine. And they are expanding towards Central Asia and threatening sphere of influence of Russia. So as I mentioned, 1991 to 2012, this thing was happening. But with the resurgence of Russia, with the oil which has been found there, the economic development, Russia is also getting aggressive. They want to save their sphere of influence. They want to have their own trade relation with these countries. So this Ukraine, it has come up as a flashpoint of the relations. So how this Ukraine issue has led to such an incident? In 2012, Ukraine want to sign a deal, sign an agreement with the European Union, and this agreement will make them more closer to the European nations. So this was not accepted, this was not acceptable to the Russia. However, this agreement was not ratified by the political, like their own parliament, because of the political instability out there. In 2013, a new government was there, and the president Yanukovych, he was pro-Russia, like he was more closer to Russia as compared to the European countries. Russia wants that China should not sign, Russia wants that Ukraine should not sign this kind of agreement or this kind of a deal with the European countries. And in return, they have given offered 15 billion as well as cheap gas supply to Ukraine. This cheap gas supply to Ukraine is very important for their industrial purpose. Their industrial economy runs on the supply of gas which have been given by Russia. So they are kind of a dependent on Russia for their own economic development. In November 2013, new president, he refused to sign the deal with the European Union and favored a deal with Russia. So because of this thing, there was a protest on the streets of Ukraine, which has been termed as a Ukrainian revolution. And as a response to this, it has been suppression of the protests was given by the president. So already Ukraine was undergoing an economic slowdown. And when the president said that I don't want to sign this agreement with the EU, rather I want to sign an agreement with Russia, there was a large-scale protest which was stemmed by the president. Another experts say, or the Russians say, that this protest was instigated by the West because they want to sign this deal with the European Union. And because of this increasing protest, the president, Yanukovych, he has to flee to Russia. He left the country and he went to Russia. The new interim government which was found, they have taken few steps. The new interim government which was there, which was formed after the president, they were more of pro-West basically. They are more of in favor of US. So what they have done is, they first removed the official language of Russia. With all these steps, Russia was not very much interfering, but when it comes to Crimea, they have taken a step because they feel that if they will allow it further, that will hurt their strategic as well as hurt their economic interest in that region. So why Russia is getting anxious about Crimea? What is the importance of Crimea for Russia? If we have a look of the map, the Ukraine and Russia are sharing borders, and they have access to the northeast and the Black Sea also. This small part in the southern, that is the Crimea, and it has a very important significance for Russia. Why the significance is there? First, they have a port city, Sevastopol. The importance of Sevastopol is that if they have this port city, they can have access to Black Sea. And if they have access to Black Sea, they can use this trade route for the export of their goods and for the import of some other products. So Russia can ship its products to major economies of the world. Another thing, if we talk about the strategic reason, if NATO forces, they are in the Ukraine region, if they are in the Crimea region, they will be very close to Russia. And if they are so much close to Russia, it is a big threat for the Russian countries. So to counter this influence, to counter this fact, they want that they should have their own control in the Crimea region. Apart from economic thing, apart from strategic thing, there is a cultural aspect to the Crimea. Why? Because 50% of the Russian-speaking population is in Crimea and having the same ethnicity of that of Russians. So these people themselves, the Crimean people themselves, they feel they are more closer to Russia as compared to Ukraine. So as a result of which, there was a referendum held in Crimea where 92% of the people they voted in favor of joining Russia. So once they favored in joining Russia, it has been succeeded to from Ukraine to Russia, and ultimately, after passing out a law in parliament, Crimea officially becomes a part of Russia. What is what are the aftermaths of this particular thing is, because Crimea held a referendum to join Russia and they finally joined Russia. Because of this thing, a number of protests, a number of similar movements were also held in other regions like Eastern Ukraine, which have the same ethnicity and the same Russian-speaking population. Now, Eastern Ukraine is the industrial hub of Ukraine. So it is very for the European nations who are looking for the engagement of Ukraine, and for the Ukraine itself, it is not in their favor to have these regions who want to go with the Russian in their favor. So these regions, the Eastern Ukraine region, they conducted their own referendum and they formed a Novo Russia, which is New Russia basically, and they want to join Russia. But however, Russia denied for this thing. But over a period of time, when a new president in Ukraine, he became the president, these pro-West regions who were protesting, they sent their forces in these regions to counter the people who are protesting to join Russia. So after Crimea, just to remind you, after Crimea, a new protest happened in new other parts of the region, and to counter these protests, Ukraine president has sent the forces. So now what is happening, there is a clash between these pro-Russian forces and the forces which have been sent by the Ukraine. And these forces which have been sent by the Ukraine, they are supported by US and Europe, and the forces in the protesting part, they have been supported by the Russia. So now we can see the Cold War kind of a situation here, where one force is supported by Russia and one force is supported by US and European Union. So this is the reason, as we see, this is the reason which is resulting in a new Cold War. So now when the forces were sent to fight rebels, West accused rebels are supported by Russia. So they both accused each other.
So what has US to do with it? I mean, I can sense that European Union has some interest with Ukraine, but what has US to do with it?
US wants their control all over the world. Simple thing. They want their own sphere of influence all over the world. So they want to interfere. First thing. Second, they are US and West or the Europe, they are like one unit. So if there is interest of one is hurting, the second automatically participates. Third thing is again the new Cold War thing. They don't want Russia to go beyond this point. So we have earlier heard that a Malaysian airline has been shot down when they were passing over Ukraine. Now both these you can say both these groups, they are blaming each other that the other group has shot down the plane, not these people. Over a period of time, what happened is that the new president, the new pro-West president, who favors more Europe, who favors more US, he has signed that same deal with the European Union, the free trade agreement with the European Union. And as a counter to that, Russia stopped their gas supply and asked for the pending payment from Ukraine. Now, as I earlier mentioned, that Ukraine economy is completely dependent on Russia. They import their gas from Russia, they are getting subsidy for that gas from Russia, and Russia is also the market for the products which are manufactured in Ukraine. So all in all, if Russia stop their help to Ukraine, that will hurt their economy in a big way. And when Ukraine signed the agreement with European Union, in a result, Russia stopped the gas supply, and in a result, the West and the US, they imposed sanctions on the Russia. Well, in sanctions, what way? Russia is a big gas supplier to the European nations, to the Germany. The industrial development of these regions depend on the gas supply from Russia. So Ukraine signed deal, they stopped gas supply, they imposed sanctions. So once they imposed sanctions on Russia, that hurt the economy of Russia. because they are getting money by selling this gas. They are selling this oil. So once the money amount is down, if they are not getting this money, that hurt economy of Russia. So in this particular way, the Ukraine has increased the tensions between US and Russia, and this has resulted in a new Cold War. Another things, once these restrictions have been imposed by US and EU on Russia, the same thing has not happened. Same thing in the sense that earlier in the World War there is a complete demarcation. These are the pro-US countries, and these are the pro-Russian countries. But this has not happened this time. There are a number of countries like India which has taken a practical stand. What is their own interest? In the same way, there are some other countries who are looking for their own practical benefits, own practical interest. So because of that, the countries like big nations, they refuse to join sanctions against Russia. And in a response to that, they open up big banks. So that because currently, if we want to have some loans from World Bank or IMF, there are some conditionalities. There are conditionalities like you cannot trade with this or that country. There are conditionalities like you should have this kind of political system, this kind of economic system, free economy. So to counter these kind of conditionalities, they opened a BRICS bank. The same reason is there why they have a AIIB, Asian Investment Infrastructure Bank, is to get away from those conditionalities. So they have loans, they can use that particular money for the infrastructure development, for their economic development, without being imposed to any kind of conditionalities. Apart from BRICS nation, Japan, which is a very important ally of US, they also refused to cancel their investment plans and to support sanctions against Russia. In this changing world order, if we see that a world order is changing, just to give 2-3 lines on this particular thing, why world order is changing and what is this which is changing this new world order. As we see that earlier, Europe was a big superpower. Europe and US on one side and Russia on the second side, they were controlling the complete world issues. But over a period of time, what happened is that in the last 20 years, Europe's influence started decreasing and decreasing. On the other side, China's influence started increasing and increasing. So downfall of Europe and rise of Russia. This is one part in the global changing global order. Second thing is that Russia, which after 1990 has held a kind of a low-key profile. It is just a developing country. But over the last few years, they have found new oil, they have found new gas, and this has helped Russia basically in the economic part. So what is happening? US is on one side and China and Russia is on second side. So this is the changing world order, the changing global order. Now how this changing global order is influencing India? That is again important because we are more concerned that how this is going to affect India, whether this is in interest of India, what are the steps which have been taken by India. India, as I'm again saying, has put the point India first. India first is again their own economic, their own political, their own strategic interest. And with this theory of India first, they are looking that where their benefit is more. Like if they want engagement with US also, they want engagement with Russia also, they want engagement with China also. So they want their own economic benefit, and with this purpose, they want that they should have good relation with all the groups. They should have good relationship with all the countries. So both sides want India. Both US want India to counter influence of China. Russia and China also wants India because India is again a big growing, fastest growing global superpower. But India in their theory of India first, in their theory of practicality, in realism, these are the words which have been used by the experts. In this aspect, basically, they want their own economic interest and they're striking the balance in terms of relationship with these countries. How they're striking the balance? If we talk about Russia and China, Russia is all-weather friend of India. They have helped India since independence and still helping in various defense things, in various other technology products. So they already have a very good relationship with Russia. Apart from that, India became member of BRICS Bank, it became member of AIIB, and already have a very good trade and relation with Russia. And with China, we have seen a number of initiatives which have been taken with China. They want more political engagement, more economic engagement with China. But this is one group, China and Russia. If we have a look at the second group, that is US and their allies, we see that we we're putting equally focus on the relationship with US. Our PM has visited US few months back, and their president is coming to India. So this is at second angle, how we want good relationship with the US. In the same way, we have equally good relationship with the Japan. Japan president visited India. We already have a lot of investments for the Japan. We want US and Japan, both these countries, so that they can invest in making India project of India. So if we see, India is countering the right balance by having equally good relationship with both the groups in the changing world order. So a quick summary of this issue is, like, after 1990, USSR disintegration happens. Because of that, the West and the US, they started their own area of influence in the Russian region. To counter this Russian influence, there was a Ukraine issue. In Ukraine, Crimea joined with Russia, and because of the global sanctions which have been placed by the US and the pro-US countries, Russia and China have joined on one side and US on the second side. So this is the new Cold War for the changing global order. Any question in this point?
China, the percentage of China's export, it does more towards the US side. So how can we say that China and Russia are at one side and US and EU at one side?
You are talking about the economic point of view.
Yes.
But if we look at the political point of view also, because if China is against Japan, China is against Taiwan region, China is against kind of a South Korea, and all these are US allies. It is not only economic engagement, it is about their influence on the countries. It is more a political thing. When two groups want their own influence, they have global power aspirations, then it counters in this particular way.
So shouldn't America pose more sanctions against China?
Now, why sanctions? Because both of them are economically dependent on each other. If US will impose sanctions on Russia, then they have to import product from some other country. That will be more costly basically. So both of them are economically dependent. They are economically helping each other. In fact, they are supporting each other's economy. But when it comes to the political thing, when it comes to the global aspiration, having their own sphere of influence, China wants that they should have more say in the international affairs, especially because of Japan, the US engagement in that particular region.
So since India is very major part for US to counter China, why is it funding Pakistan more? Yes.
Look, every this issue are different issue altogether. US helping Pakistan is a different issue altogether. So there is one complete lecture required for this particular thing. Actually, when US want this sphere of influence in a particular region, they will do it in several ways. So they want their influence in Afghanistan and Central Asia. Afghanistan is more closer to Pakistan. Access to Afghanistan is through Pakistan. So they are giving support to Pakistan so that they have the control, they have the influence in Afghanistan and then into Central Asia. Again, one more thing, Pakistan share boundary with the Iran also. And again, US is opposed, you can say, US and Iran has not a very good relation. So Pakistan is required equally for Iran also, for Afghanistan also. So that is the angle of US. Any other question on new Cold War or changing world order? Yes, please.
Sir, Japan does not have its own armies provided by US. So what is the reason that Japan is not supporting US and going with Russia?
No. Japan is an ally of US only. Japan is supporting US in all the things. But when we are talking about this particular case, when they stop their, Japan has invested a lot in the economy of Russia in the oil field and the gas fields. And these oil and gas fields are very important for the industrial development of Japan. So apart from this economic engagement, if we see politically, if we see ideologically, Japan is more closer to the US rather than this Russia and China. In fact, China and Russia, they have enmity between them. So again, Russia is supporting China and US is supporting Japan. Again, a new Cold War sort of situation. Yes, please.
So Russia is supplying gas to whole Europe and Ukraine, and I mean they will get the revenue, right? So how is the US sanctions hurting them?
Sorry, I'm not getting.
So Russia supplies the gas to the whole Europe and Ukraine and other nations. So I mean, how is the US sanctions hurting them? They would be adding the revenue, right?
So US sanctions are in that particular way. They have given direction to the European nation not to import gas from Russia.
From where they will take?
Look, in this particular thing, they have the resources in Middle East. So they are taking gas from Middle East. They are taking oil from Middle East. They are, if we have a closer look on the energy of European nations, they are more and more moving towards the renewable energy resources, towards these kind of things. So this is again a problem. Now the cost of manufacturing in European countries, especially Germany, is increasing because of this factor only. Earlier they were getting a cheap gas supply from Russia, but now because of these sanctions, they are getting this supply from other countries, and that has increased the cost of production. So this is equally hurting European nation also. But as Russian economy is totally dependent on oil, this is part of oil diplomacy also. They are totally dependent on oil. The economy of Russia is hurting more as compared